sure. So I'm Elias from Anoxia, play guitar. We're from Sydney, Australia, play old school death metal. And I'll pass on to Marco.
Yep. I'm Marco. I'm the drummer for Anoxia. I've been doing this for, I don't know, too long. Not in Anoxia. I've been just in the scene for so long. But yeah, it's just fun times all the time.
Beautiful. All right, guys, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Pleasure. So Anoxia are preparing to unleash your debut EP, Languish in Suffering, on February the 17th. So how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, we're pretty pumped. It's been a long time coming. We recorded, tracked a couple of years ago now, but there are a few issues with mixing engineers, and then COVID put a bit of a spanner in the works. So it's been a long time coming. It's actually going to be a bit of a weight off our shoulders to get it out there. We're excited for people to hear it. Just us having fun, try and make it as heavy and catchy as we can. Just putting in effort, no corners cut. Got some cool artwork in there from Italy, from Paolo. Got some mates working on it too with Matt Clarke, who produced it, and our mate Tom from Carnal Viscera, who did the graphics. So it's cool to get friends involved in the process as well. So we're just excited to get it out there. But yeah, let Marco say a few words about it too.
Yeah, it's just a good sort of fortunate thing that we've actually been in the recording process and not released anything, not as in Anoxia, but myself and Elias. But this is the first release that we've been able to do, and it's gone public. So it's really exciting that we actually got this roaring and ready to go. So yeah, I'm excited about how far things will get, and just the fact that we're doing something that is labor of love, and we know it's what we put into it is what we'll get out of it, I suppose.
So tell us a bit about the EP more from a musical point of view and what you're going for with it.
I'll let Marco go first on this one.
Look, I suppose I'll clear my throat and say that this sort of style of death metal, and I say it loosely because it's what death metal, the signature sound is what I've always known it to be, purely because I sort of grew up with the inception of death metal from the very early start. So with Elias, I find that he's an old soul and he's younger than me, and he's sort of, I don't know how he did it, but he managed to root himself with the sort of the origin bands of death metal. So our signature sound is, in my opinion, lucky enough to have strong origin roots. And I hope everyone can, sort of justifiably hear it when, they finally listen to it. It's a very, I suppose, like a old school, for lack of a better word, but just for me, death metal sound. So I hope everyone appreciates that. And it's not something, we are going for that sound, but again, I'll say it's just death metal to me. It feels like it's just normal death metal. So weirdly enough, there's a lot of people that call it old school. For me, I find it weird, but I grew up with it. It feels just like death metal to me. But that is our aim, I suppose. We are. I can't waffle on anymore. I suppose I hope everybody enjoys it.
Anything to add, Elias?
Yeah, just from my end, similar to what Marco said, I guess the cool part from us as a band perspective is we all have the combined core bands that we all love and listen to, but we all have a handful of bands that are unique to us that the other wouldn't listen to as much. So it kind of gives us our own influences and our own flavors and flares. And just, yeah, we mesh really well. We write really well. It's just fun to be a part of. So I think that's reflected in the recording itself as well.
Oh, cool. So Languish in Suffering is a 4-track EP. So I want to run through each song individually, guys, and tell me about that track and its meaning and how it came about. So we'll start with the opener, From Flesh to Ash.
Yeah, so that one's actually a unique one because it was one of those band practices where a couple of members couldn't make it. Marco and I, just through jamming, had written the first half to 2/3 of that song just organically, just jamming around and being like, oh, hey, that sounds good. We just built on that. It wasn't one that was pre-written or calculated beforehand. And it has that really slow build up and just builds tension on there. So it's actually one that we thought was really appropriate to open the EP with. It starts off slow and then has that traditional death metal, thrash metal kind of build up into that. And then regarding lyrics, we just let Joey go wild with that. Just make it however you want to make it in terms of lyrical themes, and however you want to just deliver it live and in the recording, just go from there. So just a really fun song, just different to how we usually write things.
Mm-hmm. And then you got the title track, Languish in Suffering.
Pass that on to Marco.
That was it actually I would think it was probably one of the most quickest things that we put together in terms of it just flowed really organically, and we didn't make it, oh, it's got to be exactly like that. I think it just ended up being a process of we honed it, from verse to chorus and all that sort of stuff. It just became with its own life. And I think a lot of it, recordings that people do and, they enjoy are the ones that have that life that takes that sort of runaway ability, I guess, and it writes itself. But having said that, I write nothing. It's Elias that does all the writing. But I suppose I sprinkle my 11 herbs and spices to help it sound better. But Elias is the brains of the riff writing. I wish I could pick up a guitar and play like he does, let alone throw some riffs in there. But my best is that I suppose the structure I can help with. I can, So that song in particular, it just became it almost, for lack of a better word, again, it writ itself because we enjoyed it so much. It just flowed really easy. So it's a fast, angry beast, but I guess that's why we love it, because it was just a easy flowing sort of song to get through.
And you actually released that song as a single. So what chose that one to represent the EP?
Again, I think the nature of how it came to be, it was just a very it constructed well in our, I suppose as well it can be. And even from the lyric perspective, I think it was one of the most brutal sort of pieces of writing, and it sort of fit into sort of where we could drive this EP to sound like, or it gives us that sort of flourishing of ideas, the most out of all the other songs that we had that we could build upon, I suppose.
Yeah, sure. And the next song is Torturous Degradation, which is also the title of your 2020 demo. So tell us about that song.
Yeah, that's Elias. Yeah, that was one that was written early on in the Anoxia kind of life. We revisited it a few times because it started out as a bit of a decent song. We kind of pulled it back a little bit, make it a little bit catchier, shorter as well, because it was quite a long song. With that one, we just tried going in your face, but then having a lot of tempo changes, because that's one of the things we love and we notice live. It has a big impact. Between the demo and the final recorded version for this EP, we had a few new ideas from Zoran, our bass player, and Joey. So it's quite different to the demo. I love both, but obviously the final version we've settled on has obviously gotten a more significant place in the band. It's a little bit catchier, a little bit more brutal, I guess, from an outro perspective. And that one was good as well, because it allowed us to kind of experiment the vocal pairing between Joey and Zoran. Zoran does some really cool high-pitched vocals. So live and in that recording, you'll hear it where they harmonize this really brutal low with this really, really piercing high. It's got that old school early D-side vibe in the vocals as well. And the cool part about this song as well is we managed to recruit a guest solo, Matt Sotelo from Decrepit Birth, really wicked guitarist and great band, also did a guest solo. So it kind of has that early 90s guitar trade-off where I start, then Matt finishes the solo section. So it's a cool song just to demonstrate a bit more of the musicianship side of things.
Very cool. And the final track is Drowned in Venom, which I reckon is one of the best named songs ever. Tell us about that.
I'll let Marco take this one.
Yeah, you know what? I've just got to put it out there. I only know songs by numbers that we call them in rehearsal, so I know them by track one.
I'm not going to sing it to you. No. So don't ask.
I'm a drummer. I'm not meant to know names. I just play the beat. No, it's probably one of the earlier ones that we had, but like I guess the way we make the song mature, we could have it start when we first started playing that actual song. I think it was a different sort of song, and then we sort of morphed it as you do when you rehearse and you play the song live, and it just transformed into something else. And it eventually became what it is on the actual EP. And I think, a lot of artists end up doing that. They actually play it live or they record it and then it morphs into something else. But the way it is now, we just lovingly turned it into what it is. Don't ask me what the lyrics are, please.
I couldn't understand them. I couldn't understand.
I don't know them off by heart. But it's again another labour of love. Again, I hope everyone really enjoys it.
Yeah, cool. Now, I apologise in advance for this next one because it might be a difficult question to answer, but you guys, like, you're death metal, but like you say, you sort of base your sound from the olden style death metal bands, but how as a band, how do you get influence from the older style of bands but still keep your music sounding modern and fresh?
Yeah, I guess the fresh sound is just the production that we're going for. But again, I go back to thanking Elias for his sort of having his roots and the influences with a lot of the 80s, /90 sort of scene, not even just death metal, even in metal. And I think that carries over into the sound that we've got. And now myself and Zoran, we were, born in that sort of era of, the Florida death scene and all that sort of stuff. So that is our, I guess, origin. So we're actually playing what we know, as far as, knowing all these new sort of sounds and all that. I guess that isn't as ingrained into our heart as the original stuff. But Elias, he's a freak of nature. He goes back into the old stuff. I don't know why. I keep telling him not to.
Anything to add there, guys?
No, it's just something we mentioned earlier. It's one of those things where we all love the same group of bands and then have our own thing where you listen to it on your own and it's an experience in itself, but then you talk about an album as a band, like, oh, how good was this album by this band or whatever. And then I guess it's kind of reflected in the mood of what we're in. Like we just listen to, say, a D-side album that day or a Suffocation album that day. And then you're just in that frame of mind of like how they would approach something or how it would sound. So we don't like saying, oh, we sound like A band or B band. We just try to fit into a certain mold of a certain era, and that just works out for us to be old school death metal.
Yeah, I think weirdly enough, the original sort of sound of death metal has a lot of thrash sort of embedded into it too. I guess that's how it sort of came to be, but that's the thing with us too, that we don't mind it if it ends up sounding too thrash, for example, or if it sounds, a crossover. That's not the limitation we're going to set upon ourselves in that regard. So we write the songs the way, I suppose, the aggression takes it, which could be anywhere.
Yeah, very cool. And you guys have got a special show coming up this weekend in Canberra at the Canberra Metal Festival, where I believe you're playing just before Psycroptic. So that should be a lot of fun. Yeah,
we're pumped. Like we mentioned earlier, EP's been a long time coming. the shows we've been playing have just been really, really good. I think people are hungry for shows post-COVID, so it'd be good just to, get this out there. Canberra Metal Fest is a really good lineup this year. Benji, who's organised this show, has just done a tremendous job. So to play right before Psycroptic will be killer. So we're just hoping we see faces old and new there, just going crazy, picking up a copy of the EP, just new sets of ears to listen to it. So we're really excited.
Very cool. So for those unfamiliar with the band, mate, like tell us a typical Anoxia live show, if there's anything such as a typical show.
Yeah, I guess to try, break it down to a typical show, we're just full throttle from the get-go. Just constant notches up in intensity and things like that. We like to just not really ease the crowd into it, just go straight to the full-on, fast-paced music, keep the crowd banging their heads, moshing, that same old drill, which is really exciting for us. We just love seeing the crowd's reaction to the music we love. So by us putting energy on stage, we love seeing it return, which we always do. So it's just a fun atmosphere of blast beats, catchy songs, and just up-tempo music.
Shit, yeah. And have you got any other shows coming up to celebrate the launch?
Yeah, so we have Canberra Metal Fest, as we've mentioned, and then there was the Jungle Rot show, which has been postponed. That was going to tie in with our Sydney launch, but we are announcing a show that will be the same date. It'll be a killer lineup as well, bringing some interstate bands in, bringing some classic Sydney thrash bands in, which we can't quite announce as yet, but it'll be the 21st of April. And then we've got shows planned for the rest of the year, looking at coming up to Queensland later around November, which is still finalising some plans, and Melbourne a bit earlier, probably in August. So, expect to see us doing the rounds.
Sure. Well, let us know if you need a hand booking some venues up this way, man. I've got a few contacts, so I don't mind helping out with some support bands and shit.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
No worries. All right, guys. Well, thanks very much for your time tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. Languish in Suffering is out on February the 17th, and I had a listen before this, and if you like your music brutal, you're going to fucking love this because it smashed my teeth in. It was fucking good, guys. Fun.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Breathing
Cheers, boys.